Analysis of one of today's top stories, and that is Iran. Its controversial nuclear program is at the top of the agenda as world powers are meeting in Vienna. This 3 months after Tehran agreed to curb uranium enrichment in exchange for the lift of international sanctions. For more on this story, let's bring in our guest, Ardavan Amir Aslani, who's a Middle East expert. Now, tell us, for a decade now, the West has been fearing Iran's capacity to build an atomic bomb. Talks have always failed until now. So what's so different today?
A lot of things are different. First of all, ever since November 24th, you have the interim agreement between Iran and the group of 5+1 that basically cut off all the hassle over the nuclear issue. The permanent members of the United Nations Security Council and Iran plus Germany reached an agreement whereby they allocated themselves 6 months to finalize a definitive agreement on the nuclear issue. So we are in the midst of a confidence-building campaign that both parties are trying to generate.
Right, but tell us, what are the main sticking points here?
Well, for the moment, what has happened is that the interim deal basically put an end to Iran enriching uranium beyond 5%, which was the threshold that the Europeans were seeking to achieve. And Iran has undertook to dilute its stockpile of uranium enriched up to 20% to lower level, to fuel-grade level. What is up for stakes now and up for grabs is the big issue of all the sticking points I just mentioned, such as the fate of the Fordow centrifuge center, the fate of the Arak plutonium reactor, and the long-term position of Iran in relation to its right to enrich or not, and at what percentage rate. So all of these are sticky issues that need to be dealt with. Now, today is the first round of a number of upcoming negotiation sessions that are going to take place. Basically speaking, during these 3 days, the Iranian and the 5+1 group are basically going to concentrate on the determination of the schedule and the identification of group members. You won't get anything out of this within the next 3 days. It's going to be a long process. Iranians are hoping that by the 6-month anniversary of the interim accord, i.e. July 20th, a final agreement would be reached. The Americans and the Europeans are a bit more pessimistic. They target for a year. Iranians are going to do whatever they can and whatever it takes to end the sanction and the final return of the country back to the international community. But obstacles are out there still.
Right, but in the meantime, though, the US and Iran have both downplayed any hopes of a major breakthrough. I mean, Ayatollah Khamenei even said, and I quote, "The nuclear issue is an excuse for US hostility. Even if it's resolved, another issue will pop up," he says. So why did he say that on the eve of the talks?
Well, it's basically a negotiation tactic. I mean, I've been practicing as a lawyer on numerous occasions, and the first thing you do when you enter a tough negotiation session, you upend the bargains and you make things difficult for the other party. And they have done the same, because they have also said that they're quite pessimistic. President Obama came out and said that there's only a 50% chance that this thing would go through. We should not forget that the Ayatollah Khamenei that you mentioned also specified, after having said that he's not optimistic, that he's not against negotiations and that Iran will stick by its word. So you're getting contradictory messages from both sides, and it's only natural when you're embarking upon a tough period of tough negotiations on one of the most sticky points on the international diplomatic agenda.
And what concessions are both sides ready to make now?
Well, I think that the Iranians are genuinely serious when they talk about their desire to reach a settlement with the West. And I think the Iranians are going to accept to plateau their enrichment capacity at 5%. I think that they are willing to accept a number of surprise visits by the IAEA. I think they're going to accept the approval by their parliament of the 2003 additional protocol to the IAEA TMP treaty. All that is going to happen. And I think they're going to expect, in exchange for all these concessions, that the United States, the United Nations, and the European sanctions that are hitting Iran hard be totally removed.
All right, well, tell us, the West does have some economic interests in Iran. Tell us what's at stake here for Western powers.
Well, people tend to forget, but when you talk about Iran and Iran's return to the international business community, you're talking about the largest addition to the world economic system since the absorption of Eastern European countries after the fall of the Berlin Wall. There are talks of Iran requiring $300 billion in investments within the next 5 to 10 years. We saw it with the travel of the French Employers Union to Tehran, the upcoming German delegation going there, and in the aftermath, the Dutch going there. Iran is a big cake, and all of the industrial countries are naturally interested in getting a share of that cake out there.
All right, all trying to get a slice of the Iranian cake. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having me.
Analysis. That was Ardavan Amir Aslani for us. And it's now time for a bit of sports, and we start with tonight.